Good evening, I'm Lizzie Siles. Thank you for joining us for 25 News at 9. And our top story tonight, we're less than 1 month away from the presidential election, and some people are saying they're fearful of voter intimidation. Sam Matheny explains what one county clerk is doing to make sure that does not happen at the polls.
Voter intimidation can happen on the streets or in the neighborhoods, but they can also happen at the place where you're casting your ballot, and that is illegal.
You cannot do anything campaign-oriented within 100 feet of a polling location or a ballot drop box.
This election is once again touted as the most important one of our lifetime. In Illinois counties, there is a campaign-free zone. At the McKenzie building in Pekin, this rope shows how far someone must be away if trying to influence a voter.
Individuals can't wear campaign hats, campaign shirts, propaganda. You can't be discussing elections within those areas.
Cars with Trump, Harris, or other political bumper stickers cannot be within the vicinity. If someone violates the law, Tazewell County Clerk John Ackerman says election judges will ask them to cooperate or ask law enforcement to remove that person.
It's a shame that they have to do that, honestly.
Tazewell County Democrat volunteer Mary Osborne says Trump supporters were stationed outside their Pekin office on Saturday, claiming they were shouting obscene remarks about Kamala Harris. Osborne claims the supporters were intimidating Democrats coming inside to get yard signs. These details were not able to be verified by Pekin police and nearby businesses. Police Chief Seth Ranney says no one called police complaining, so there was no police report. When asking businesses for security footage, we were told they did not have any or they could not share it.
I don't think that someone should be trying to intimidate us to make us believe them or go with their beliefs. I think all of us have a right to choose. And none of us should be afraid to express what we feel or who we want to vote for.
Ackerman says they have law enforcement at polling places or on standby in case situations like these happen or in case they escalate. In studio, Sam Matheny, 25 News.